What's up, everyone? I'm Deanna Reese-Williams, and I'm continuing my series talking about how I manage as a doctoral student. And so today's topic is the biggest challenges of being a PsyD student and how I've overcome those challenges. To be honest with you, even though I'm talking about it from a doctoral student perspective, I do think that everything that I'm going to be sharing is going to be very helpful for anyone seeking any kind of education. I often say this to my students that education is honestly it's a journey. And no matter where you are in the journey, whether you're getting a vocational certificate or perhaps you're getting higher education, it's all collectively a journey because here's the deal. Life is going to happen while you're completing your education. So I have a couple of things that I want to outline for you guys. All right, so the first thing is common struggles in your PsyD program or in your education experience. Also, time management and burnout prevention. And then lastly, I want to say staying motivated during your education journey or your dissertation process in general. So for me, one of the things I want to talk about, some struggles that I've had, and not just me, but just meeting other students that or doctoral students that are seeking their education, is basically this need to you have to work really hard and meet every single deadline. And if I don't get it done now, it's never going to happen. Now, here's the deal. Most of the people that I know, we have all been collectively working full time while seeking our degrees. And so there's different kinds of pressures. There's reasons why we're seeking out this higher education, whether it's a promotion, whether it's more research, or we're taking a totally different career path altogether. So there's just these different, and I feel like they're more internal conversations with yourself of pressuring yourself to try to get everything done. And when I answer some prompts, you'll understand why those methods don't necessarily work that well. As far as time management and burnout prevention, one of the things that I kind of regret when I started working on my chapter 1, 2, and 3, and soon to be 4, is that I really kind of let go of some things that I enjoy in terms of creativity and outlet. I honestly let the things go. And in hindsight 2020, I wish that I would have continued doing some of the creative outlets that I enjoy. For whatever reason, my mind shifted from when I was doing coursework to actually working on the chapters. I felt like I had to kind of shut everything down in my life. And I wish I wouldn't have done that because I think it contributed to me burning out because I had no real outlet to kind of have fun. Even though during my coursework, I still traveled, I went to concerts and stuff like that. And not that I did not do this while working on these other chapters, but I feel like I should have engaged in more things that I still enjoy. So, some outlets that I have being an entrepreneur, the only outlet that I kind of rediscovered was okay, I want to go to YouTube. I want to share what I'm doing. I want to document what's going on. And I'm glad that I decided to do that, but it still was just kind of it wasn't, I wish I would have been doing it all along because it gave me an outlet to just basically share how this process is going. It gave me some sort of accountability. It took away the isolation of going through this process. And so I just wish that I would have kind of leaned into what works for me versus feeling like I have to hit this straight and narrow and otherwise I'm not going to be successful. For those of you that are brand new to my channel, again, my name is Deanna Reese-Williams. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. I'm going to be talking about a lot of goal-oriented things, also giving you guys the behind the scenes. I like to throw in a couple of vlogs every now and again, just so you can see how this all works. And sometimes, or over the years, I've had friends that have asked me girl, can you give me some cheat codes of what you're doing? Because I don't know how you manage all the things. And let me just say this, although I'm an empty nester, there was a time in my life that I was a parent guardian for over 10 years, and I did manage to work and go to school and raise a child in all of that space. And she was not like an older child. We raised her for 10 years, from 2.5 until she was 12. So I've done this. I've continued to go to school, whether I was an empty nester or whether I was a parent guardian. And I might need to add the fact that my husband also served in the Army, and most of half of his time that he was in, he was not around. So I was also a single married parent managing life in school and being an employee. So it can be done. It's just what I've learned is that it's all about how you organize yourself, what kind of support you have around you. Do you have a community of people that are supporting you? And that's what's helped me to be successful. It's not everything that I'm doing on my own. Okay, so also something to keep in mind is like staying motivated during your dissertation phase, or just staying motivated to be a student. Listen, this is what I tell my students. And again, for those of you that are new, I work full time at a community college. I teach early childhood education courses. And I legit tell my students this, and I have to tell myself this too. Why you are in school, it has to be your reason why. If you don't have a reason why you're there, you probably are going to struggle because you don't necessarily want to be there. If you're being told that you have to do this, you may not want to do it still. And so you've got to buy in and figure out why you're showing up to complete this degree. And so for me, trust me, I've had some moments in this doctoral journey that I'm like, why am I doing this crap? I don't need this crap in my life. I just want to quit. I'm done. I'm over this. And then I'm reminded that I really wanted to dive into research to understand, why were children being placed in foster care, even though I live in a state where it says children can be placed back with parents, because that's what we believe in the state that I reside in. But I never saw these children going back to parents. And so I wanted to understand things from a psychological perspective, from adults, because I felt like I understood the child system very, very well. And there's a lot of supports and services for children. But what I've learned is that there's not a lot of supports and things in place for adults, especially if you reside in a rural area. It actually poses more challenges, and the research just basically, it proved it. It demonstrated that. And so it inspired me to not only want to do the research, but to create and develop a program that could be helpful for mothers. I'm not going to get into the weeds about why, but part of my research is focusing on formerly incarcerated women, specifically mothers. There's not a lot for women, and there's even less for mothers, especially in their post incarceration life, like after they leave that space. And so I just wanted to contribute some research to that conversation. All right, so now that you kind of understand the why, now you understand what kept me motivated to keep going, because I know that this research is going to help somebody else that may want to develop a program or make some changes at the institution that they're at, whatever the case may be. I know that I'm contributing something that's going to be something more greater good for the criminal justice system. All right, so some questions that I'm going to answer for you all. What has been the hardest part of your PsyD journey? The hardest part for me has been, I actually started this journey in summer of 2013, and I knew why I was studying the work, but I really wasn't clear about, okay, when I get to the dissertation phase, what am I going to research about? That was the hardest part. Then life happened. And I mean, life really did happen. I had 30 credits of clinical psychology courses underneath my belt, and my husband sustained a major injury while serving, and our lives pretty much turned upside down about a decade ago, and we needed to relocate, so we did. And for a little bit of time, I was having to work while we figured out injuries and managing things as with a child at home. We just had like a lot of life, and sometimes life is so overwhelming that you just have to pause. And I did. I actually did not list my education, my resumes. I didn't talk about it. It was just like one of those things that I don't think I'm ever going to get this done. And when I switched over to higher education in fall of 2019, the first question people asked me was like, so when are you getting your doctorate? The funny part was is that I had already started pursuing this. They didn't know 4 years prior, but I had stopped. And I had honestly forgotten how many credits I had completed because I had so much going on in my life. I didn't have time to figure any of that stuff out. When I finally figured out that I had 30 credits done in clinical psychology, it made me realize, okay, I'm going to have to go back and finish this thing. And that's what I'm going to have to do. And so I returned back in fall of 2020, and here we are, spring of 2025, and I'm almost done. I'm literally one chapter away from being done. So I think the hardest part was getting back on the saddle and almost feeling like I had to start all over again. But this time I had more clarity, more purpose as to why I was doing it. So that was the hardest part of the journey. My next question is, how do I push through when I feel overwhelmed? I take a break. I literally take a break, and I have to sit back, take the break, look at why I'm overwhelmed. What is going on in my life that's causing me to feel overwhelmed? What is the question that my chair asked me, or what is the research that I'm doing that's causing me to feel overwhelmed? When I take the pause and step away and then come back, the thing that was making me feel overwhelmed, it all of a sudden becomes very easy because I took a moment to kind of be. It just makes it a lot easier, more clear for me to figure out what's going on. Sometimes it's a matter of organizing myself better. Sometimes it's saying no to things. Sometimes it's asking questions. And so I have to really just sit back and figure out what's the trigger of what's causing me to feel overwhelmed. And once I get to the root cause of it, then I'm able to make the switch. Last question, what advice would I give to others starting their PsyD or doctorate, or honestly education? I would say my advice to other people is be clear about why you're getting the education in the first place. Why are you getting this doctorate? And don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm doing this for myself. It's okay if that's what it is. What do you plan to do with your education once you achieve it, obtain the education? What are you going to do with it? Because that's a real question you need to ask yourself. What do I plan to do with this education? For myself, being in higher education, it's a value to me of having a doctorate. If I was still in public education or working in other capacities in early childhood, there is some value to having a doctorate depending on what level that you're in. But for me, it's really been about figuring out what's the value of me having it and how is this going to help me moving forward. And not just me, but helping others. Like, how is this education going to help other people? And that's the advice I would give. Be very clear about your why, because there's going to be times where it's going to be hard and it will be isolating, and you have got to be clear on how you're going to show up for yourself and get this education done. Well, I hope this video was helpful to you all, and I will catch you guys on the next video. And have a great day, have a great night, and have a good morning, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.